In this lesson, we're going to practice graphing using the cover-up method, and it's best used for equations that are already in standard form. Standard form is an equation that has a number in front of the x, and then a number in front of the y, and then the equal sign, and then a constant. Some books are really particular about not having any fractions or having a positive a value. But typically, if it takes this form, you'll be able to use the cover-up method. So in the cover-up method, we're going to use a premise. And the premise is that if we have any value on the x-axis, or any point on the x-axis, that you'll notice its coordinate is an x followed by a 0. So no matter where it's at, it has a number and then followed by a 0. So in other words, the y is going to be 0 for an x-intercept. So for an x-intercept, the y is 0. If we're on the y-axis now, and we look at some values on the y-axis, if a line is going to cross at any of these points, we can notice a pattern about the y-axis as well. It's going to have the 0 for the x and then a number for the y. So for the y-intercept, we notice that the x is going to be 0. So using that premise, sometimes teachers like to call this the cover-up method, because if I'm going to plug in a 0 for y, that means there's going to be a 0 in here, and anything times 0 is 0, we can cover it up. And what remains is 4x equals 8. And when we solve that using inverses, we're going to get the x-coordinate for the x-intercept. And then if x equals 0, 4 times 0 is 0, and 0 minus 2y equals 8 would just be negative 2y equals 8. Solving that, we get y equals negative 4. And so our y-intercept can be at 0, negative 4. If I were just to rely on a quick sketch, I can plot 2, 0 on the x-axis here, and 0, negative 4 on the y-axis here. And connecting those with a line, we would have the line containing those 2 points. So in other words, this equation could be represented by that line. Or we can put it on some graph paper. So if I graph 4x minus 2y equals 8, I would get the x-intercept at 2, 0, and the y-intercept at 0, negative 4. And again, same thing. Based on how good your ruler is, how good your graph is, how thick your pen is, more or less you'll get a good representation of that equation. So let's try another one and we'll watch the signs. In this example, I'm going to give you 3x minus 2y equals negative 6. Go ahead and try it using the cover-up method. You can even wait for you for a minute, or you can pause. If I cover up the y, I get 3x equals negative 6. If I cover up the x, don't lose that sign, negative 2y equals negative 6. Solving both of them, it looks like I'm going to get x equals negative 2. So the x-intercept at negative 2, 0. And the y value of 3. Again, whether or not you use a quick sketch, get my little graph paper back out. Negative 2, 0 on the x-axis, 0, positive 3 on the y-axis, and connect those two. Remember, these lines extend infinitely in both directions. And so you've graphed using the cover-up method. You've graphed from standard form. Good luck on this section.